Ladies, gentlemen, and raiders of all arcs, by far one of the most important parts of the Arc Raiders experience and getting more consistently powerful over time is blueprints. With blueprints, if your workshop stations are upgraded and you have the base materials needed, you can craft just about anything of value in this game. But you of course need an individual blueprint for every craftable thing, and it's with the recent Northline update, the blueprints in the game have actually gone up from 68 total defined up to 74, as the new weapon, the two new grenades, and the 3 new mines are all also available as blueprints, which will make them craftable once you have them. So today we're going to go over an updated blueprint farming guide. As of the time of me making this video, I have not yet seen or heard of anyone getting any of the new blueprints. Stella Montis as a map has only been around for about a day right now, so it's possible they are just very rare and they could be exclusive to the new map, but after a day, I would think that someone would have found something. So as of this immediate moment, for those ones, I'm thinking either that they are tied to some sort of event that we just don't have in the game yet, something that literally has not been released, or they're tied to some sort of puzzle that we have not yet found or solved, or they might just be bugged like some other blueprints have been. But that doesn't mean there's no current reason for blueprint farm, because we know that blueprint drop rates were adjusted in patch 1.2.0, which hit with the Northline update. And while this is a super non-specific patch note, we do know that bettina blueprints were dropping at a much higher rate than intended beforehand. The devs specifically agreed to this, and tempest, vulcano, and bobcat blueprints were basically non-existent as well, among a few other ones that were unnaturally rare. This patch, however, seems to have changed rates so that bettina blueprints are down, and still seemingly frequent, but less so. But I have also seen some confirmed drops of bobcat, volcano, and tempest blueprints since the patch, so if you're looking for one of those ones, the time for blueprint farming is back on. That said, we'll go over the basics of blueprints to make sure that you are in the loop on anything important to know. I've got a couple of really good individual locations for quick, fast smash and grab raids where you load in, go one under-traveled, high-value spot with good blueprint chances, and we will talk about those. Then we'll get into the proper routes for longer, full-raid expeditions looking for blueprints as well, including my buried city routes, which I am still really happy with, but more routes means more variety, and especially if some of these spots become a little bit more known and a little bit more popular, more options is a good thing to have. So we will also be going over a nice new route for Spaceport, and then we'll be talking a bit about the new Stella Montis map as well, as before its release, players were under the belief that it might be the map that specifically is made to give out blueprints at a higher rate than the others. And now with the map out, we'll talk about if that's true and go over some early stuff about the map in relation to blueprint farming. First up then, generalities of blueprints. Night raids increase chances of getting blueprints, and there is some debate in the community about whether night raids literally raise item quality or just like the quantity of items that you can find, but regardless of which of those two things it does, both of them will increase your chances of finding blueprints in a raid. But night raids do also come with increased inherent danger and generally more aggressive players as well, so higher risk, higher reward. Blueprints can come from any container in the game if you're lucky enough, but the chances are generally super duper low outside of a few specific exceptions. First is location based. High value loot areas, not necessarily like the red squares on the maps that are marked as high value, but things like locked rooms that require keys to open and get into. The puzzles on Bluegate, or some of the puzzles that are actually on Stella Montis. There are puzzles on Stella Montis, and we do have a video on the Bluegate ones already if you want to check out how those ones are done, and we'll be talking about the Stella Montis ones over the next few days. That said, any room that requires breaching a door to enter, those also all generally have higher loot quality than anywhere else, regardless of the specific container inside, and this includes blueprint chances as well. But these do also generally double up as being rooms that have potential weapon case spawns, and this also counts for any room that can only be accessed with parkour, like if the only entrance requires you to like jump off of a zip line midway or jump into a window from another building. And the other big part of this is knowing which containers are more likely to have blueprints in them. The main ones are weapon cases, which are super recognizable. These have set potential spawn locations on every map, but they do not necessarily spawn in every location on every raid. Most of them seem to be around a 15% chance as a loose estimate, with the ones in the higher value areas I just described being more like a 50% chance of their weapon case spawns. Puzzle rooms specifically seem to be guaranteed. I've never heard or seen a puzzle room open without having a weapon case inside, and locked rooms openable by keys seem to vary by the key's rarity, with higher rarity keys resulting in higher chances of weapon case, but I don't think even purple key rooms are fully guaranteed either. As well, blueprints can come from raider caches, which likewise have set potential spawn locations, but do not spawn in each one every raid. These are most easily found by just keeping your ears peeled for this noise when moving around in game. To make that easier as well, you want to go to your settings and turn on night mode in the audio settings specifically. This makes loud sounds quieter and quiet sounds louder, because it makes the raider cache ticking and whirling type noise much louder, which makes it easier to hear them. And while I can hear it quite clearly, some of my friends have said that this setting helped them a lot where they couldn't hear it before. So I recommend it for this reason if nothing else. But night mode is honestly a pretty good choice regardless for a game like this. It makes explosions and gunfire quieter and makes things like footsteps louder. As well, as far as blueprint chances, this counts for any other thing that the game marks as a raider container. This includes grenade cases, which are the cylinder-shaped objects that usually have grenades in them. It includes the medical duffel bags, which are the bags that usually have the med items inside. These also have higher blueprint rates. And I've heard people say that red lockers have higher blueprint chances too, but I've not had a blueprint drop for one of those myself as of this point, so take that one with a bit of a grain of salt. There's also these big black cases, which do have higher blueprint drop chances as well, but seem relatively rare to find and spawn. And then a final one that people have started to realize more recently is actually surveyors. The big, heavily armored ball arc that will run away from you if you engage them that generally stay outside. They actually have a pretty decent chance of dropping blueprints. So if you're someone who has just ignored these after getting the vaults you needed for workshop upgrades, they are definitely worth mowing down anytime you come across one on the chance of blueprint drops alone, if nothing else. As well, it's worth mentioning I have heard some talk recently about people saying certain types of blueprints only come from certain types of containers or certain maps, and I will say that this does not line up with my personal experiences. I have found anvil blueprints in weapon cases on Buried City. I have found anvil blueprints in medical bags on Spaceport. There may be some level of hidden weighting to the randomness of what can be where, but that's really impossible to know without a metric ton of data gathered from players or just straight up data mining. Everything past that is speculation. So it's possible this is a thing, but I would take that with a very large grain of salt for the time being. As well, a quick reminder that blueprints are reasonably decent drop chance from Trials rewards. The Trials system unlocks at level 15. It gives you a weekly rotating set of objectives. You have to hit your high score in one singular raid, it's not collective, and this will get you different tiers of reward based on how well you do. Every reward from Trials has a chance of being a blueprint drop, so it's definitely worth focusing at least the easier ones each week. That said, there are a few blueprints that are not in the RNG pool for sure, and the ones that we know of for sure at this point for this are the lure grenades, as well as the trigger grenade, and then also the hullcracker launcher weapon as well, and the ammo for the hullcracker itself. All of these come from quest rewards. Then the Jupiter legendary energy weapon and the equalizer legendary energy weapon both have their blueprints tied to the harvester event, where they are guaranteed drops if you solve the puzzle of the activity. Outside of those, from what we know, the rest of them are full chance based, and so the best way to turn the RNG in your favor is to specifically target the activities that have higher chances of blueprints, meaning key rooms if you have the keys, puzzle rooms, high value loot rooms that require breach or parkour to access, and then just things like weapon cases or raider containers in general that have their spawn locations on the maps. That said, let's start by talking about Stella Montis, the new map. There was talk about interpreting map descriptions and such as if Stella Montis was going to be the big map for blueprints, and that seems to have just been wishful thinking, which is to say that Stella Montis blueprint drop rates don't seem higher than any other map so far from what I've been seeing, but the way that the map works, it's all indoors. There's lots and lots of high value areas throughout, and so it's basically just one massive farm route from start to finish no matter where you go. It's hard to even suggest a route on this map, at least right now, because just going through the map will bring you from valuable place to valuable place, and while it's still very early for something like a full route, for now I'll show you a key room that you can exploit your way into without needing the key, and that will likely be patched pretty quickly, but it exists right now, and with it being the weekend, I wouldn't expect a fix for that until like Monday at the earliest. As well, we'll go over a couple of really good high value loot room areas too with high blueprint potential. That's on the east side of the lobby area here, which is a yellow loot zone. Here is the security checkpoint. This is 4 floors of staircase going up and down with some rooms branching off of it too. Every entrance to this area requires a breachable door to get in, so that whole 4 floors of loot is all high value, almost like the pharmacy on Buried City. Inside of here, there are a bunch of the little like black raider containers that people have started calling blueprint boxes. There are potential grenade canisters and med bag spawns in here as well, ammo cases, and importantly, there is a locked door that should require a key to enter on the lower floor down here, but you can exploit your way into here super easily as long as you have a second player, which is obviously easier if you go into the raid in a group with the intentions of doing this, but you can always make friends by playing like sick tunes on a recorder and then snake charm them over to assist you and split the loot fair inside, even in solos. The actual method then is one player holds sprint while running at the left corner of the door, the other player spams jump while holding forward into them, so basically you're using jump to mash the other person blueprint into the door, and they eventually clip through it entirely. You can open the door from the inside, and then you have a locked room to split between you for free, including a high chance of weapon case spawn and multiple of the black case raider containers, 2 potential grenade cases, just very high value room in general. Whether you want to do this or not is up to you, of course, but I feel that everyone should at least be aware that it exists for the sake of an even playing field until it gets fixed. This whole area has been pretty high traffic though, so you either have to make friends and split it or fight for it. Whereas there is another high value loot room right here on your map. Breach doors on either side to enter, so everything inside is high value. There's a bunch of lockers in here, potential raider container spawns inside too for potential blueprints, nice and simple. Next up then, let's talk about a couple of easy access, high loot chance, low player travel spots. The idea behind these is you load into a raid with the most basic possible kit, possibly nothing but adrenaline shots, even if you really want to risk that, and then you just beeline it to these locations at the start of the raid, then blueprint or no blueprint, you extract and run it again. Same spot on repeat because it maximizes your chances of getting stuff without being attacked. This will slowly be able to build up your blueprint collection, and because you bring so little value into the raid, you have very little to lose if it goes wrong. Especially as if you find a blueprint, it goes into your safety pouch immediately, that's what you should be doing, and then even if you die, you get to bring it back with basically no loss. That said, there are 3 main spots I'm going to be sharing for this. The first one is on Dam Battlegrounds. This spot right here is the end of a broken down bridge. Pop up over to here, and then from the very edge of the bridge, you can tap backwards to drop off, and then as soon as you fall off, hold forwards and hit the vault button, and if you have the right angle, you'll just pop up right into this hidey hole here. This has a high chance of weapon case spawn, seemingly around 50%. It's supposed to be a hidden area that can only be accessed with a snap hook or a zipline, but this trick lets you get in there for free, and you can also have other valuable cases in here too. There can be things like medical duffel bags or grenade cases, which all can have blueprints inside as well. Next spots are going to be on the Buried City map. First is up here at the northern side of this train station part of the map. This is super far away from pretty much anything else of relevance, so players will only go here if their only goal is this spot really, which does make the competition relatively low. This is a breachable door, which means everything inside is higher quality, and inside there are always 2 breach boxes, and then there can be a weapon case on the left here at a reasonably high spawn rate. Grenade case and ammo case can also spawn in here too. Then the next one of these spots for just sort of quick smash and grab is this building over here. Top floor of it has a room with breachable doors, so it's full of higher quality than average loot just in general. This is in a more traveled area of the map, but this room itself still seems quite unknown by the player base, which means it is a safer one to just hit up, grab what's inside, and then bail off the map with your rewards. Past that, we have longer routes for if you are willing to bring in a little bit more of a kit, willing to compete a little bit harder, and even get into fights over your loot. For those, I have 2 big recommendations. First, bring at least a looting Mark II augment. They are relatively cheap to craft once you have gear bench level 2, and it gives you a second safety pouch, which is important for the second recommendation, which is fill your safety pouch with blueprints, and then go maybe find like 1 blueprint past that before leaving, meaning if you have 2 safe pockets, once you find 3 blueprints total that you care about, that means that it's time to leave instantly, even if you are still in the middle of the route, because the 2 that are in your pouch are safe, but the 3rd one is at risk if you die, so you want to get out with what you got. As for the route itself, we'll go back over the old ones that I've covered before because they are still absolutely very solid, but first I want to add a new route to the list on Spaceport for a bit of variety, and because, well, the people watching this video will go after these places, and the more I can spread you guys out, the more loot will be accessible for all of us instead of us fighting each other for it. Simple as that. That said, I'm going to go over it from the eastern side to the western side, but if you spawn on the west side of the map, just do it in reverse pretty much. Starting here in the vehicle maintenance yellow loot zone, stairs up from the ground level to the 2nd floor. These couches over here in the corner, this is a potential weapon case spawn location. There is a breachable room 1 floor up from here as well. However, I don't think there's weapon case spawns in there. It is just general high value loot, but it's still worth mentioning so that you know about it. Then there is a little tower here on the map. You can climb up the broken walls beside it to get up access to it quicker, or there is a rope from the ground level that you can just ride the whole way up. There are a couple of these towers that we'll be hitting up, and they are basically just small but dense loot zones. This one has a potential weapon case spawn over here in this specific spot, and there's also a security locker in this room if you have the security breach skill. Southwest of this tower in the fuel lines area right here, most of the pipes are horizontal along the ground, but this one is vertical, sticking out of the ground, which means that to walk up to it, you then have to vault into it to get inside. But in this pipe is one potential weapon case spawn location. From here we go around to the inside of the departure building, which is a red loot zone, so a bit higher player traffic, but we are only going to one spot very close to the outside. This is on the southwest side of the building, very close to the external entrance. Right in this spot is a breachable door to like a staff bathroom or something of the sort. Inside here is a load of red lockers that have solid loot inside of them. Again, this is a breach door room, so higher value loot in general. And then in the back corner of the room, in this shower stall here type thing, this is a potential weapon case spawn spot as well, with a seemingly decently high spawn rate. From here, we go to another one of those unmarked towers on the map here. Again, you can climb up the wall to enter from the side, or ride up a rope from ground level the whole way. And at the top, there is another potential weapon case spawn location in here, as well as another security locker if you have the security breach skill. Then we head north to the arrival building. Again, this is a high value loot area, so it's a bit dangerous on the inside, but we are sticking to the outer edges, where there is higher value with lesser danger. On the west side of the building, on the outside, there are two separate breachable door rooms in a line. These both function very similarly to each other, both high value loot areas behind breachable doors, but I've only seen confirmed weapon case spawns in the south of these two rooms. So the south room is part of this route, but I want you to know that the north one exists just if you want loot in general. Then outside of the southern breach room, there is a ladder right here that goes up to the roof, and on this spot here on the roof is a potential weapon case spawn. On my run here, I had a medical bag instead of the weapon case, but the med bag had a blueprint anyways, just to show that that does work and that this spot is relevant. And that is the end of the sort of safer route options here. Though if you want to take a short but risky detour for one extra high value loot room, you can drop in through the skylight of the arrival building down to the top floor of the building itself, and in the southeast corner of the building on this floor is a breachable door room, and so inside of it, it is full of high value loot as well as a potential weapon case spawn on the desks in here as well. But this will place you firmly inside of a red loot zone, which is an area that players are willing to fight over. So that last room there I think is a big risk that is entirely up to you depending on what you have before going for it and how confident you are in your ability to get out. That does it for the Spaceport route then, so now let's pop over to Buried City and quickly go back over my existing routes for that map. And for those who have seen my previous blueprint videos, these have not changed from the last one, but I'll be including them here anyways, just so that all of the information related to blueprint farming is in one place for you guys nice and conveniently. I'll be showing the locations that you want to hit up one at a time from west to east across the map, and if you spawn on the east side instead of west, you can just do them in reverse. It doesn't really matter. You can hit up all the ones that you want to do. You can omit some if you think they're too dangerous or you don't think they're worth it. I'm just here to give you the information on these spawns themselves in a nice straight line. You can use it however you actually want. That said, starting on the west side, the first spot to hit up is the one that we just talked about as a good single spot extract run, up by Murano Station on the north side, the breachable door here. After that, you want to head over to the house over here. On the roof, there is an attic window that you can enter very easily, and right above the entry from the inside up to the attic, there is a potential weapon case spawn over here. Jump back out of the window you went in to come here, drop down to the ground level, and jump into the window across the street, and right in this corner is another potential weapon case spawn. Then jump back out the window, take a right turn, and hop in the window across the street in the building dead ahead. Rappel up the rope in here in the little staircase to skip the staircase, and then on the top floor, in the kitchen, on the counter itself, is a potential weapon case spawn location. Exit this building out of the window right beside here to get to a sheet metal bridge, cross it to the rooftops, and then drop down to this area here for a zip line that goes across. Jump off of the zip line onto the metal platform, and this is a high value loot room on your map as well. Any container in here has a decent chance of holding a blueprint, and there are at least 2 potential weapon case spawn locations in this room as well. Southwest of here, outside the west side of the Grandioso apartments in the bushes here, is a potential Raider cache spawn location. Then slightly southwest of that, in front of this vehicle here, is another potential Raider cache spawn location. Listen for the sound, the ticking. If you don't hear it, just keep running. If you're feeling spicy, there are 2 potential weapon cases on the rooftops of the Grandioso apartments, one at the top of the stairs in the north building, tucked around the corner on the right of this unit here, and one spawn can be on top of the south building on the roof above the stairs themselves over here. But these buildings are generally quite full of players, and for 2 very low chance weapon cases, I'd say that's probably a bit dangerous to do. Moving on, our next spot is a super low traffic area for the actual value it can offer, and it's another breachable door high value loot area in this building on your map. Simply go up to the top floor, and then there are 2 entrances to the room itself. Either one requires breaching, and then there's a bunch of cabinets and drawers and stuff inside, potential weapon case spawn, duffel bags, grenade cases, stuff like that, and decent chances at a blueprint drop as it is a high quality loot room in general. The next spot then I've noticed being a bit higher player traffic recently, so it's not the safest anymore, but I'd still say it's safer than Grandioso Apartments and more worth it because there's a much higher chance of getting stuff that you want from it. It's also safer than some of our other things on the list too. But this building here is a secret loot room. You come to the south rooftop, you climb up, and then from here you can jump into the window of the building across, turn 180, and repeat this to jump back into the window of the south building. This is the high value loot area. 2 potential weapon case spawns in here that I know of personally, and every container in here has higher than average blueprint drop chances too. Over here by these trees, this is a potential raider cache spawn. Then in this alleyway here is a potential raider cache spawn as well. Listen for the sound. If there's no sound, keep moving. In Plaza Rosa over here, the building on the east side right over there is a pharmacy. There is another pharmacy we'll be talking about in a minute, but I want to preface this by saying these pharmacies are high value loot areas the whole way down. But unlike the previous secret rooms, they are multiple floors of loot, multiple rooms of loot, and lots of places to search that all can have blueprints. But these are also much more well known by the community and much more traveled by players because they're great for things that aren't just blueprints. So you're not unlikely to get in a fight if you come to a pharmacy. But the sheer density of containers in a high value loot area like this makes it a great blueprint farming zone if you are willing to take on that risk. And it also is great for stuff like money farming or med items and stuff like that too. Just for the sake of mentioning it, you do have to breach the door to get in these pharmacies to begin with too, which is part of how we can tell that it is a higher value loot area. Just northeast of here then is the Red Tower. This is an area that I find players in sometimes, but not too frequently. If you enter from the east side, there's a window that you can go in, and then just up the stairs is a small, high-value loot area. There's red lockers, there's a potential weapon case spawn by the railing of the staircase itself, and then if you head out the hole in the wall, up the ladder, and then take a right turn, and then around the corner on the right again, against this wall is another potential weapon case spawn location. This building over here, just a bit northeast of that, is easily entered from the east side on the roofs through a little hole in the wall, and again the railing of the staircase right here is a potential weapon case spawn. Then the final spot of note is right here in Piazza Arbusto. On the east side of the road there is another pharmacy. This one I find is a little bit less commonly traveled than the first pharmacy we talked about, but still decent chances of encountering other players, so it's a bit of danger, but tons of high value loot containers with chances of blueprints. Those are all the places that you can sort of go to in one by one in a line. Generally, if you're trying to be as quick as possible, I'd recommend just picking the closest high-value loot room to where you spawn, whatever that is, get there before anyone else, clean out all the valuable stuff, then continue along the path until you have stuff valuable enough that you'd be upset if you died, and then extract wherever that point is for you. And that pretty much does it for today then, everyone. An updated blueprint farming guide for the new information we've gotten over the recent week or so, a new route on a different map, and a bit of a talk about Stella Montis, the newest map and how viable it is for blueprint farming. And the short answer is it's full of densely packed high-value loot, but also by far the most PvP-hungry map in the game. As a result, I would generally say that it's not a bad blueprint farming map, but make absolutely sure that you have Looting Mark II Augment and put blueprints straight into your safety pouch, or you could lose them at any second. I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and I wish you all the best of luck in expanding your blueprint collection. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.